knowing what was and what is. Because when you go, even before I can even continue to go on and explain, if we could read in Hebrews chapter 9, verse 26 to 28. Hebrews chapter 9, it says, in verse 26, it says, Hebrews chapter 9, 26, where am I? 26, 26, it says, we could start from verse 25. It says, nor did he enter the heavenly sanctuary to offer himself regularly again and again, as the high priest enters the Holy of Holies every year with blood not of his own, not his own. For then would he often have had to suffer over and over again since the foundation of the world. But as it is now, he has once and for all the consummation and close of the ages appeared to put away and abolish sin by his sacrifice of himself. If I can read another version, it says, now that in the King James Version it says, not yet that he should offer himself often, as the high priest entereth into the holy place every year with blood of others. For then must he often have suffered since the foundation of the world. There's something that person writing Hebrews is saying, that it should have taken Jesus suffering since the foundation of the earth, offering himself. But then he must have often had to suffer since the foundation of the world. But now, once in the end of the world, hath he appeared to put away sin by the sacrifice of himself. Let me get the NIV too here. It says, otherwise, Christ, let me start from verse 25. Nor did he enter heaven to offer himself again and again, the way the high priest used to enter or enters the most holy place every year with the blood that is not of his own, because they would use the cow's blood, the lamb's blood, whatever. But otherwise, verse 6, otherwise Christ would have had to suffer many times since the creation of the world. But he has appeared once for all at the culmination of the ages to do away with sin by the sacrifice of himself. So you see, Jesus Christ wasn't known as Christ 2,000 years ago. He was before the foundation of the earth. There was a plan of the ages. For some of you who think you are now, I'm going to show you, you were known before the foundation of the earth. Christ was planned to die. No wonder Revelation 13 says, those who are not written in the Lamb's book of life who was slain before the foundation of the earth. To us, when we see these thousands of years pass, we are like, Christ came 2,000 years ago. He came years before even that. No wonder he says, before Abraham was, I was. You see, there's a scripture in Peter where it says that 1,000 years is like a day before the Lord. How these people get to go this revelation is really immense. And 1,000 years is like one day before the Lord. For us, it is ages. We are like, because we are infinite, we are finite people. Our bodies are finite. They have to die. We live through all these things. But with God, he's outside time. So when you read all these things, they happen before the foundations of the earth. They happen before the foundations of the earth. Some of us think, oh, I came to be when my mother conceived me. We are going to read that. No, you were known and everything about you was known before the foundations of the earth. I want to read an excerpt from somewhere, from a certain portion I read. It says, creation of the world. These phrases, especially verse 26, these phrases bracket a vast span of time during the whole of which Christ had to offer himself only once. But he was known as the Lamb who was slain before the foundations of the earth, before Adam and Eve were. Christ and everybody he would come to save was already written in his book. Now, if that's what I want to tell you, you're not a mistake. You just didn't come to be produced now. You were written before the foundations of the earth. You were written in the Lamb's book of life before even the Lamb was slain physically. Because as per Christ, as per God, it was already done. So your name was already done. Your redemption was already put in place. Amen. That's who you are. So it says here that these phrases, that Christ would have to suffer many times since the creation of the world. You just don't take that for granted. Don't you think Christ suffered just now? He was there. You know in Hebrews, where I'm not going to read, in 1 Corinthians chapter 10, I think it's verse 4, it says, he was the rock that followed Israel. For some of you think Christ appeared 2,000 years ago, and then he appeared in Mary's womb. He left his glory. No wonder he says, Father, take me back to that glory that I had before the foundation. So before the ages came to be, God had all the plan in place. No wonder it's called the Alpha and Omega. He knows the end from the beginning. Jesus says, nobody knows the time and whatever I'll come back, but God himself. He knows what is going to happen. You're not a mistake, especially you children of God. Not even others. You're not a mistake. You were known before the foundations of the world. If even Christ was slain before the foundation, what he would do physically was already done. You know, it's amazing as you put your finger there. When you go to Revelation 5, I know I'm having my fingers all over the place. Revelation chapter 5, there's an amazing excerpt there that John sees. Revelation chapter 5. He says, then I saw in the right hand of him who sat on the throne a book written within and on the backside sealed with 7 seals. And I saw a strong angel proclaiming with a loud voice, who is worthy to open the book? Now, John is living in a time after Jesus had been crucified, had died and rose again. But listen to how John is describing this. Who is worthy to open the book, to loose the seals therefore? And no man in heaven, nor in earth, neither under the earth, was able to open the book, neither to look thereon. And I wept much, because no man was found worthy to open to read the book, neither to look thereon. And one of the elders said unto me, weep not, behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, has prevailed to open the book and to loose the 7 seals thereof. And I beheld, and lo, in the midst of the throne and of the 4 beasts, in the midst of the elders, stood a lamb. But as I speak now, as we read this, John, even as he writes this, Jesus was no longer a lamb. He was the risen Christ. But you see what John is saying. He says, stood a lamb as it had been slain, having 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of God, set forth into all the earth. And he came and took the book out of the right hand of him and sat on the throne. But as John speaks, he's one of the disciples who saw Jesus die and rise again. So I would literally say he would not talk to him as the lamb that was slain. So to our infinite minds, to us, when we think of Jesus, we think of just those 33 years and the culmination at the 33-year whatever mark where he comes. Kumbe, okay, let me say that in English. Otherwise, it was already planned foundations, years, centuries, and thousands of years ago. No wonder Jesus, where I've read in John chapter 17, he says he took on a glory less that of humanity. He tells the Father when he's praying, take me back to the glory I had before. Because the glory he had before was an immense glory than the glory he had when he was here. Do you know when they say that, let me take you, when they say that when Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego were thrown in the furnace, and they say there was that 4th man, yes, I know there are different interpretations.